Prabhupada, Paramahamsa, Parivrajaka, Acharya, Ashotara, Srishima. His Divine Loving Grace, Savai Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Radharashmi Bhagavatam Ki. Tagore Premanande. Glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru, Sri Guranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Whoever it is. Morning in Mayapur, huh? So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1. We're starting Chapter 7. We're changing gears here really hard in the Bhagavatam. We're going to hear about how Drona is punished and Krishna is about to make his appearance in the Bhagavatam. And this is a great chapter. We'll hear a lot about etiquettes and what to do if someone comes and kills your children. In case you need to know that. No, but it's really wonderful. Om Ajnanatamarandhyasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Sta Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishvare Visubhanu Sute Devi Paramami Hari Priye Namaste Giriyajaya Shri Govardhana Namane Ashesha Klesha Nashaya Paramananda Daine Vancha Kalpatarabhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Padidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mare Kabando Matsangin Madguru Manmadana Madnistaraka Madbhagya Madananda Namostate Asaru Saru Tadayan Atinitro Chatakara Hanamuncha Karachinmam Premnorit Katayospara Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskrita Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devyam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Madhurayat Nastapreshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Hare Krishna. Thank you all for being here. I'd like to express my gratitude. You've all been supporting me. You guys are the core people of this Sangha here, and I love you all very much. And as much as I'd like to say that I'm doing it for myself, or I'm doing it for you, I'm doing it for myself, because I get so much benefit from speaking Bhagavatam. And you're facilitating that, nectar of speaking the Bhagavatam, which is to my own great spiritual advancement. And really, we say, Asadu sadhu tadayan atini chochatakara, that you, Srimad Bhagavatam, makes the unsaintly saintly. And so this service of speaking on Bhagavatam has been the core, my core service, really. My core, the heart of my whole service is this Bhagavatam classes which I do, in the morning or here, and the instruction of my Guru Maharaj to read the Bhagavatam. It's been really sweet. So we'll just do a little review. We keep trying to do for all the devotees. Really wonderful nectar we've gone through so far. So basically, we discussed the first 3 verses, which is the definition of God, the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, and the invitation to taste the sweetness of Bhagavatam. And then we talked about the 6 questions of the sages, right? We've gone over that many times, and then those questions were answered systematically in questions 2, answers 2 and 3. And then we talked about the history of Bhagavatam. Questions were asked in regards to how did the Bhagavatam, why did Vyasadeva write the Bhagavatam? Why did Shukadeva Goswami speak the Bhagavatam? And why did Maharaj Parikshit, this great king, why did he leave everything to hear the Bhagavatam? And so then the history was revealed. Sutta Goswami started by talking about how Vyasadeva was feeling despondent. And in his despondency, Narada Muni, his Guru Maharaj, appeared and chastised him, telling him that, you're a fool because you've not spoke the Bhagavatam and you've not accepted this Bhagavad Dharma. You've done all the other spiritual things, but without the Bhagavatam, you can't be fully satisfied. And so then we're hearing how Narada Muni spoke about his history and all this, and now we're going to hear about basically why did the great king Maharaj Parikshit and the great sage Shukadeva Goswami have their conversation about the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we're going to hear that, starting with this kind of back history. And so we're at verse chapter 7, and next chapter, by the way, is Srila Prabhupada's favorite chapter of Bhagavatam, and one of the best chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam is the prayers of Queen Kunti in the next chapter, so which are the most, in my mind, I think probably the most nectar verses of the Bhagavatam for me. So here we're hearing, let's see, what was our last section here we did?
Used to be a small book that was just that.
Yeah, it's still around. Yeah, it's still around. It's up there somewhere. You give it away. It's a good one to give out at the campus when you say, like, you go to a girl, you say, this is about a great queen who had a lot of hard times, and she overcame them by spiritual enlightenment. Well, I'll take that. All glories to Narada Muni, who glorified the Lord while taking pleasure in himself and enlivening all the distressed souls. So now we're hearing Shanaka Uvacha. Shanaka is questioning the sage Sutta once again, back to the original conversation. Shanaka Uvacha Nirgate Narade Sutta Bhagavan Barayana Shritavam Starabi Pretam Tatakim Akarad Vibhu. Rishi Shanaka asked, O Sutta, the great and transcendently powerful Vyasadeva heard everything from Sri Narada Muni. So after Narada's departure, what did Vyasadeva do? And so next verse, verse 2. Sutta Uvacha Brahmanadyam Sarasvatyam Ashram Paschime Tate Samya Prasa Iti Prokta Rishinam Satravardhana. Sri Sutta said, on the western bank of the river Sarasvati, which is intimately related with the Vedas, there is a cottage for meditation at Shamyasprasha, which enlivens the transcendental activities of sages. We'll read purport here, some sentences from the purport. For spiritual advancement of knowledge, a suitable place and atmosphere are definitely required. So it's a point Prabhupada's making, that we have to have a suitable place and atmosphere. So how do we make a place suitable for spiritual advancement? Yeah, that's a nice practical way.
Burn cow poop.
Yeah, you can burn cow poop. Sometimes too much cow poop is not. Yeah, Yeah, well, we want to keep it in the mode of goodness first and foremost. We want to understand the mode of goodness. And so neatness, cleanness and neatness. If you don't have neatness, it's really difficult to do anything in that space. Once my Govardhan Shila made his appearance and in this place, in my little ashram space, keep it very neat every day. I spend at least 30 to 40 minutes straightening it, sweeping it, because it's his space. And in that way, I can, since he's come, I've been able to chant my rounds in my own room, which I used to not. I'll sit down and I can chant my 16 rounds practically in one sitting because it's suitable. And then that atmosphere, as you begin to practice spiritual life seriously and well, you actually saturate that room with that consciousness, you know. Or when you go in there, you feel, oh, you know, I want to chant japa or something like that. So this is the process. And so it's described that the mode of ignorance is like a bar, a brothel, right? Alcohol, drinking house, drug place, right? Mode of passion is like, you know, workplace, afternoon time, you know, working hard. Mode of goodness, city. The city is considered mode of passion. The forest is considered the mode of goodness. But better than the forest is to live at the temple of Lord Vishnu. So therefore, devotees live at the temple, or they create a temple in their house of Lord Vishnu. And you know, it's described. Bhaktivinoda Thakur described how, even though he was a grihasta who had 14 children, his house was Vaikuntha. But not many people can imitate Bhaktivinoda Thakur. You know, don't try this at home, kids.
Lamps are important, right?
What?
Lamps. Catholics, all of everyone does lamps.
We do lamps, yeah. Deep, you know. But anyhow, I just made a pun, but only Granga seemed to get it. He gave me like the look. He said it's deep. Because they're called deeps. Like a lamp is called a deep in Sanskrit. I said it's deep, you know. But it's a deep thing. It's a deep thing to offer a lamp to Radha Madhava. So anyhow, yeah, you know, anything like that. The flame is not necessarily auspicious, but if a flame offered to Krishna, you know, it's consciousness behind it. The main thing is cleanliness and the worship of God. The worship of God really is then what makes a place transcendental, is when the worship of God is going on there. And so, you know, how do you do that? You have to really do it. And you have to actually, you know, surround yourself with people who want to do it, and you have to do it yourself. And it requires, you know, a lot of discipline. It's not such an easy thing. Mother Sandamani has this place so spiritually enlivened. Why? Because she's very disciplined. She goes to bed on time. She wakes up on time. She chants around. She does her discipline. She doesn't mess around. She doesn't get into nonsense, you know. And so she's able to maintain, and it's described that the mode of ignorance, very easy. You can destroy something very easy. It's very easy to destroy something. It's a little bit harder to create something, but to maintain something, that takes serious potency. That's why Lord Vishnu is the maintainer. You want to maintain a family, if you want to maintain an ashram space, you want to maintain a project, you have to really take that responsibility and come to the mode of goodness, which means, you know, all things included, getting up early, doing all the devotional services nicely, taking prasadam nicely, regulation. Like when Sureshvar came here, you know, he was amazed because Mother Zanami Dhira wasn't on the scene yet. And so Sandani was just single, running this whole place. And she said, you know, God, you said, you're just one lady. How are you running this whole temple? And her answer was, regulation. So, but that means I can't enjoy. Yeah. I can't enjoy the same way. Yeah. There are reasons to not be regulated, like you're preaching all night. That's the only reason. That's really the only thing that'll keep me up out of my room past 8 o'clock is if I'm preaching, which I'm practically doing every night. So, okay, the place on the western bank of the Saraswati is especially suitable for this purpose, and there is an ashram of Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is still alive, by the way. Shamya Prasa. Srila Vyasadeva was a householder, yet his residential place is called an ashram. An ashram is a place where spiritual culture is always foremost. So what is spiritual culture always foremost, right? That means that actually Krishna is first. Mam Ekam. Krishna is number one.
When you say he's still alive, you literally.
No, I really.
Not just in the narrative, but he's still somewhere.
He's still there. Yeah.
Isn't it like a cave somewhere that's.
Yeah, Badrik Ashram. Yeah, he's there. Yeah.
Isn't that where Narayan is still?
Yeah, that whole area. Narayan's still here too. It's in the Himalayas. It does not matter whether the place belongs to a mendicant or a householder. The whole Varnashram system is so designed that each and every status of life is called an ashram. This means that spiritual culture is a common factor for all. The brahmacharis, the grihastas, vanaprasthas, and sannyasis all belong to the same mission of life, namely realization of the Supreme. Therefore, none of them are less important as far as spiritual culture is concerned. There's a difference in it. The difference is a matter of formality on the strength of renunciation. Sannyasis are held in the highest esteem, a high estimation on the strength of practical renunciation. The practical renunciation, that means sannyasis and brahmacharis should be practically renounced. But everybody should be renounced, meaning they're unattached. That's for brahmacharis and sannyasis should be practically renounced, meaning they're living a life of non-attachment. So, yeah. Anybody who's engaging everything in Krishna's service is a sannyasi, is a renunciate. But how can you do that? That means you really have to seriously take up the process. Otherwise, the more facility you have, the more you're going to just sink down into that pit of Maya. Very difficult. To have things. Very difficult. But if they're all used in Krishna's service, like Mother Sundamani, she's a great example. All of this, even Dhiro, right? He's used in Krishna's service. Everything. No, seriously, everything's in Krishna's service. She always puts Krishna first. She always does. You can see that. So that takes, strength of sadhana. Most importantly, the strength of sadhana gives us the intelligence to think straight, think it through. And in that way, if you really, if you're good, if you're trained up well, then wherever situation you're at, you're going to do good. Just like, Sudam Vipra. Okay, next verse. In that place, Srila Vyasadeva, at his own ashram, which was surrounded by berry trees, sat down to meditate after touching water for purification. We touch water for purification too. Text 4. This is nice verse here.
You don't have to put your whole body in there?
We bathe, 3 times a day ideally, but there's a process called akshmana, in which you sip water and with mantras, and that purifies you. That's what they're referring to by touching water, akshmana.
Oh, that's what it means. Okay.
Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranite male apashyat purusham purnam mayam chatadapashrayam. This is a very important verse. Thus he fixed his mind, perfectly engaging it by linking it in devotional service, bhakti yoga, without any tinge of materialism, and thus he saw the absolute personality of Godhead, along with his external energies, which was under his full control. So Vyasadeva, when he began to write the Bhagavatam, he saw Krishna and he saw Krishna's energies. This is full knowledge. Maya, what's the verse? Maya prakriti. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena konteya jagat dipavartate. That Krishna is the master of both material and spiritual energies. They're working under his direction. All moving and non-moving beings are under him. So, perfect vision of the absolute truth is possible only by the linking process of devotional service. Perfect vision of the absolute truth is possible only by the linking process of devotional service. Bhakti amam abhijananti yavanyaschasmi tatvata tato vyatat tato mam tato vyatas vishate taranantaram. The middle line. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. One can perfectly realize the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, only by the process of devotional service, and one can enter the kingdom of God by such perfect knowledge. Imperfect realization of the absolute truth by the partial approach of impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma does not permit anyone to enter into the kingdom of God. So what do you want? You're going to go where you want to go. You want to enter the kingdom of God? Or do you want to enter the Brahman, or do you want to the mystic powers? You're going to get that. So what do you want? We have to ask ourselves what we want. We have to have courage to actually know what we really want, you know. I want to enjoy material world, so I want. Okay. I want to enjoy. Okay. You have a problem with that? I want to enjoy.
So Krishna that every morning.
I do. I tell him that every night. Krishna, I want to enjoy. I do. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. I really want to enjoy this world, Krishna, but I want to serve you more. And there's so much, you know, as much as I want to endeavor for sense gratification, I want you more. And I'm not going to do anything that you don't want me to do. Please help me to have the strength to continue. Because I don't have it. Not one bit. Please help me. Every morning. Every night. I say that prayer like 6-7 times a day, actually. And probably more than that. Honestly, I say that prayer more than any other prayer. Krishna, I don't want to do this if you don't want me to. I don't want this. I don't want this. It's so attractive, but I don't want it. So Gurudev taught me to pray like that. Srila Vyasadeva, what's that?
What is localized Paramatma?
That's the Lord in our heart. Krishna is in your heart.
But it sounds like a bad thing here. Partial approach to the impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma. Oh, the impersonal.
Impersonal or the localized. It's not complete. Even if you know the Lord in your heart, it's not the complete realization of Bhagavan. Krishna says, Upadrastadnimantascha bhartavok maheshwara paramatmeti chapyukto dehismin purusha paraha. That in this body, there's another transcendental enjoyer. These 2 verses. He says, Purusha prakriti stohi, that the living entity situated in the material world, prakriti stohi, in this material world. Bhonkte prakriti jangunan. He's enjoying, bhonkte prakriti, he's enjoying this material nature, which is born of jangunan, the modes of material nature, rajas, tamas, and sattva. Karanam guna sangosyat, because he's associating with those modes. So because we associate with a certain mode of nature, sadasad yoni janmashu, we take birth in good and evil wombs because we're associating with a certain mode. So if I want to associate with the mode of passion, let me go get in a passionate situation. I'm becoming conditioned to that passionate situation. Therefore, I'm likely going to have to take birth in the material world again as a human being. If I want to associate in the mode of ignorance, if I'm constantly going to the bar, drinking, doing these things, I'll likely have to take birth in a ghost body or an animal body. And if I'm constantly in the mode of goodness, I'll likely go to the heavenly planets. You see, so we're enjoying the various enjoyments. What are the enjoyments offered by the mode of passion?
Fun. I can still say that.
Love. As Gurudev says. I think it's love.
Yeah, that's it.
So fun, yeah, fun in terms of basically enjoying with the opposite sex, enjoying making money, great endeavor, power. What's enjoyment offered in the mode of ignorance? Intoxication, sleep, laziness. People really enjoy being lazy, you know. They just love to sit and do nothing. Amazing. Right? They just love it. Sitting on your phone all day, super mode of ignorance. I'm talking to myself, but really it is. It's such an intoxicating. I realized actually this thing is intoxicating, just like alcohol. It's so intoxicating. It destroys your devotional service, actually. I mean, it's very difficult to deal with this thing. I really, you know, Nadia Bihari only has that little flip phone. It's envious. You know, it's really nice. Because it's such a big mode of ignorance. It's exactly the same. So yeah, anything like that, mode of ignorance. Mode of goodness is enjoyed by what? Yeah. Most importantly, Krishna says, he says, a sense of knowledge and happiness, yeah. Like genuine, like I'm mode of goodness, happiness, and knowledge. Like I know I'm not this body, so they have this kind of sense of knowledge. Yeah, they're peaceful. Mode of goodness is peaceful. But they're not really that peaceful because there's always the fear of the demons. They're always thinking about the demons. Yeah. Even the heavenly planets. The only challenge in the heavenly planets is that the demons are coming. There's a rumor that the demons are coming.
They got a Paul Revere up there.
There's a rumor. There's a rumor that the demons are coming. Yeah, they do. Bali shows up sometimes. He takes them out. Hiranyakashipu showed up and, they're out of there.
But what's the real problem there? You just get reborn. Is there really something to worry about? Are demons really that bad forever? At some point they stop being scary, right?
Not if you're in the mode of goodness. If you're transcendental, they're not scary. But if you're in the mode of goodness, they're scary because they're coming to take away your peace.
Oh, I see.
That's why the Christians are always talking about the devil and Satan. They really love the mode of goodness, basically what they teach. They're always talking about Satan and the devil. And, it's this big war. That's how the mode of goodness is. It's, competition, demons and demigods. Narada Muni doesn't fear the demons. Narada Muni is actually a devotee, transcendental. The coward boys certainly don't fear the demons. Let's walk into Aghasura's mouth. Krishna will save us. Krishna will save us. That's the Krishna consciousness of a devotee. Krishna will save me. No fear. What can they do to me? But mode of goodness is different. They don't want to lose their position because they're enjoying so intensely in the heavenly planets.
Forgetting the mode of goodness is not ideal.
Well, that's what a lot of spiritual people, impersonalists, they basically think the mode of goodness is the end all be all, but we strongly reject the mode of goodness.
You have to kind of be there to get to the transcendental platform.
Yes, in a sense, but not necessarily, because Arjuna was on the transcendental platform fighting in a battlefield. Krishna says that you can perform, Sudra is in the mode of ignorance, supposedly, right? So you can attain perfection by performing your own duty. We're going to follow our own nature. So what makes someone Sudasattva is when they surrender to Krishna. That's the surrendering aspect. And then you become purified to the mode of goodness. If say you're a Sudra, you're a worker, not really good at sense control, you don't really have plans, you're not like leading people, you just basically want to work, come home, enjoy associating with the opposite sex, and live a simple life. Okay, no judgment there. You can do that if you do it religiously, if you follow the religious way of life, marriage, and you're a devotee. And by worship of the Lord, like Sureshwar was speaking this morning, by worship of the Lord, one can attain perfection in the course of his own duties. So you do those duties for Krishna in Krishna consciousness, and therefore you become purified. That's what karma yoga means. You become purified by the process of your varna and ashram. And then you transcend that varna and ashram. But we have to understand that karma yoga is not the karma yoga. It's karma yoga. That's what people don't understand. People think, they read Bhagavad Gita, think, I'm doing karma yoga. I'm going to do but your job isn't actually karma, it's vikarma, right? Because it's not a varnashram duty. It's not like you're doing anything, sanctioned by the Lord. Your sinful, life can't really be offered as karma yoga. It's got to be vikarma yoga. It's vikarma, not yoga. So you do karma yoga, meaning that you have to really have a pious life, and so it's very difficult to do karma yoga actually. Therefore, the prescription is that if you really want to be purified, come here Bhagavatam, take prasadam, and chant Hare Krishna. Everybody can do that, and then you'll be purified. And so therefore Krishna says, do whatever your prescribed duty is while remembering me in the form of Krishna.
Can alcohol be prescribed? Some people do that.
No.
But it's really clean.
They're nonsense. They're nonsense. That's like what we call rascal. Rascal, Prabhupada, rascal. Yeah. Krishna says, Patram, Pushpam, Palam, Toyam. You can offer me with love and devotion, water, leaf, fruit, or flower. And it extends to foods in the mode of goodness. Grains, milk products, sugar, fruits, and vegetables. That's offerable to Krishna. Nothing else is offerable to Krishna. Krishna doesn't want to drink your alcohol.
Do any of the other guys?
Then it's not prasadam. And anyway, some people they offer the demigods wine, and the demigods don't drink it, but their nasty bhuta pisacha associates drink it. And they say those kali prasadam, it's meat. This is a rascal cheating propensity. You know what the Sanskrit word for meat is? Mamsa. It means me, you. It means I eat you, you eat me in my next life. That's the actual Sanskrit word for meat. There's no scope for offering intoxication to Krishna. But if you drink intoxication and you think of Krishna, it's still purifying. But it's not prasadam. Not the mercy of the Lord.
Doesn't Prabhupada give that example?
Yeah, even
like if an alcoholic is
yeah, he does.
drink, but thinks of Krishna somehow. That's
I did that for a while. You know, when I was really into the herbal medicines. You know, before I was thinking
your quote marks when you said herbal medicine.
herbal medicines. And so when I was really into the herbal medicines, I was, I didn't want to do it. I really wanted to give it up, actually. I was thinking, I want to give this up. And so I remember thinking, like, Krishna is the healing herb. And, like, I remember thinking that, Krishna always defeats Lord Shiva. Because Lord Shiva is associated with ganja, so. But I remember now, I felt really bad because I really wanted to stop at that point, but I was thinking, like, it's a very difficult habit to overcome. And so in time, I completely lost taste for it. And never did it again. Yeah, it's easily overcome by Krishna consciousness. Srila Vyasadeva did not take notice of the effulgence of Brahman because that is not the absolute vision. The absolute vision is the personality of Godhead, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Vasudevam Sarvamiti. The Upanishads also, in the Upanishads also is confirmed that Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead, is covered by the golden glowing Hiranmayana Patrena, veil of impersonal Brahman. And when that curtain is removed by the mercy of the Lord, the real face, the absolute truth is seen. So people get bewildered by the light. I've seen the light. They don't know who's behind the light. Krishna is behind the light.
Yeah, any tricks to get beyond the veil?
Chant Hare Krishna and surrender to a spiritual master. I mean, Krishna says, you can't see me as I am unless you perform bhakti yoga. But that means Shuddha bhakti. Doesn't mean mixed bhakti. It means Shuddha bhakti. Pure bhakti. Nothing else. Mam ekam anyabhilashita shunyam jnanam karmanyanavitam. Freedom from jnana and freedom from karma and material life. It's love. You have a question?
How does that work in terms of like Dhruva Maharaj? Because he wasn't, I don't know if you'd necessarily call that Shuddha Bhakti, because he would have the intention of getting a kingdom greater than his grandfather Brahma until he did see the Lord, and then everything changed.
Yeah, true that. But the practices he were doing were under the jurisdiction of pure bhakti. He was chanting Hare Krishna. He was chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So the practices, like, we're not pure devotees. We don't just want pure devotional service.
Was he worshiping a deity too?
No. What did I remember? He was standing and doing austerities and chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. But he might be right. I don't remember that though. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'll have to look. I haven't read the Dhruva Pastime in a while. I don't remember that though, because I know he was seeing the Lord in his heart, and the Lord appeared outside. But anyhow, the practice of pure devotional service, our practices are pure. Bhagavatam is pure devotional service. Hearing the holy name is pure devotional service. But if we just wanted pure devotional service, why are we doing anything else? So really, the Shuddha Bhakti stage is a very high stage. It's not, it's some, Prabhupada was on that stage, We have this kind of desire to, Sureshwar's class this morning, like Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Balam Toyam Yume Bhakti Priyachati, he says, offer, fruit, flower, water, leaf with love and devotion, I'll accept it. And then, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that if you can't do that, like you're not, actually Krishna is saying you're not qualified for bhakti. Therefore, yat karosi, yat ashnasi, yat jahosi dadasi, yat tapasyasi koteya tat karosam arpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, is an offering to me. Okay, that's what you want to do. You offer that to Krishna. But that's not Shuddha Bhakti. That's called Karma Mishra Bhakti. Good. It's not Shuddha Bhakti. But the practices, you can do that without chanting Hare Krishna. But when we chant Hare Krishna, and when we engage in that process under the bona fide spiritual master, then the doors are open, right? Because we're attached to the sadhu, and the mercy of Narada Muni, all these things are there. Mercy of Guru is there. Dhruva was able to see the Lord. And that's the purification process, is it not? That, he had this intention. But when he saw the Lord, after practicing the holy name and seeing the Lord in his heart, after becoming purified by following the Guru in terms of the Bhakti Yoga prescription. What's our Bhakti Yoga prescription? We had Dhruva Maharaj was given austerities and he was given a mantra. What was his austerities? He was eating nothing. He was eating air. First he ate fruits, then he ate leaves, then he ate air. He drank only water, then he ate only air. That was Dhruva Maharaj's program, and he was chanting his mantra constantly. Prabhupada says you can see Krishna in 6 months if you have the determination Dhruva has. So if you have the determination Dhruva had, you can see Krishna in 6 months. So Krishna is reciprocal to our level of determination. How much do we want to do the austerity? Okay, I'm going to do austerity. I'm going to serve Krishna. I'm going to chant my rounds very nicely. I'm going to follow the 4 regulative principles precisely. We have our mantra and we have our austerities. And what happens? We become purified. And then we see Krishna, and then we become a pure devotee. Right? Then we become a pure devotee after we go through the process. So, Bhakti Mama Vijananti. But we can't, we're not Dhruva either. Dhruva had the whole world. Vishnu was actually trying to save the world because the weight of Dhruva's toe was crushing the world.
Was the air also being restricted?
Yeah. He had so much, tapas means heat. And so tapa actually means heat. The austerity generates heat. The whole universe was melting because he was so powerful. So, yeah, Dhruva was real.
That'd be crazy to find out y'all are suffering just because of a little kid.
Yeah. So then, okay.
It's important to understand that there's an external and internal energies.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. Very nice question. Krishna says, aparyasitam pakyam. Why am I forgetting all my slokas? Aparyamitas prakratim vidime param jivabhuta mahabaho yeyadam daryate jagat. So Krishna says that there's, besides these, he says earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. These constitute my separated material energies. Besides these, O son of Kunti, there is another superior energy mind. Aparyamitvastvanyam prakritim vidime param. Superior energy, jiva bhuta mahabaho, which constitutes the jiva bhutas, the living entities, the souls, which are trying to exploit the resources of this inferior nature. The impersonalists don't understand that there's a superior nature and there's an inferior nature. Dead matter is inferior. We're trying to exploit dead matter, the living entities. There's no movement and we understand this.
These are all internal energies, what you listed out.
External. You're the internal energy. Well, you're actually what's called the marginal energy, but essentially it's of the quality of internal energy. Internal energy is the spiritual world, Krishna, Radharani, all of this, and the spiritual activities. And so this is what the impersonalists don't understand. They want to see oneness, but we understand that there is an internal energy, which is the Lord's pleasure potency, which constitutes spiritual activities. His leelas, his activities, they're not governed by material laws. And so a devotee, he can enter into that internal potency by service to God. And that's why when a devotee surrendered, he lives in a different universe.
Impersonalists are focused on external.
They're just, they don't see this differentiation between the two energies. Therefore, they say, oh, it's all God. Yeah, it's all God, but not everything brings you closer to God. You see, this amp doesn't bring me closer to God unless I use it and make it into internal energy by chanting Hare Krishna through it.
That's still shredding.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're what's called Tatashta Shakti, meaning that we're the marginal energy. We can be either in the external or in the internal, covered over by the external matter or internal. And Prabhupada gives this example that all of the external energy is all moving by the internal energy. And the example given is that, citric acid is a chemical, right? It's produced in a lime tree. So that living entity in that lime tree, because that living entity exists, it can take dirt and transform it to citric acid. So wherever you're seeing these chemical transformations taking place, in a sense, there's living entities. There's actual living force moving these chemicals around. Even you say, oh, well, if I take, baking soda and vinegar and mix them together, I get a reaction. You move that baking soda and vinegar. So there's living force behind the movements of the world. That's what we understand, that even the world, the sun, the stars, they're jivas. They're souls. They're actual entities. And then this is here, this Purnam, which means indicates the Chit Sakti arising from Krishna's Sarupa and all his Amsa and Kalas. So this Chit Shakti is Krishna's internal energy, his power energy from his Sarupas. This is like the complete energy of the Lord. Okay, we'll go to verse 6. 5. Yaya samohito jiva atmanam tri gunatmakam paropi manute nartam tatkritam kavipadyate. Due to this external energy, the living entity, although transcendental to the three modes of material nature, thinks himself a material product and thus undergoes reactions of material miseries. So there's your answer right there. Due to the external energy, the living entity, although transcendental to the modes of nature, thinks himself a material product and thus undergoes reactions of material miseries. The root cause of suffering by the materialistic living being is pointed out with remedial measures which are to be undertaken and also the ultimate perfection to be gained. All this is mentioned in this particular verse. The living being is by constitution transcendental to material engagement, but he is now imprisoned by the external energy, and therefore he thinks himself one of the material products. And due to this unholy contact, the pure spiritual entity suffers material miseries under the modes of material nature. Living entity misunderstands himself to be a material product. This means that the present perverted way of thinking, feeling, and willing under the material conditions is not natural for him, but he has his normal way of thinking, feeling, and willing. Living being in his original state is not without thinking, feeling, and willing. It is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that the actual knowledge of the conditioned soul is covered by nescience. Thus, the theory that a living being is absolute impersonal Brahman is refuted herein. This cannot be, because the living entity has his own way of thinking in his original unconditional state also. This present conditional state is due to the influence of the external energy, which means that the illusory energy takes the initiative while the Supreme Lord is aloof. So the point here is that the external energy basically means when we're trying to exploit God's energy for our own use, that puts us under external energy.
You're trying to exploit God's energy for service to others, for service to what you think is God. You make it sound so bad. There's a lot of good people on that path.
Of what, exploiting the material energy? No. Fools and rascals. No, really. Where's this?
So oftentimes if we're still exploiting with energy for other people, aren't we still exploiting other people generally?
Well, it's the same thing. You're just expanding your sense of self. It's expanded self out of me. I'm exploiting for my family, for my race, for whatever. It's this expanded self bodily engagement, but you can't exploit the external energy And there's nothing spiritual about that. You can use the external energy in the service of Krishna, of God. That's spiritual. That's no longer external. And that's why a devotee is not in the external energy. They're under the internal potency. The laws don't apply to them. Karma doesn't apply to a devotee because he's under the internal potency. If he's really under the internal potency. Krishna says, Mahatmanas tumam partha, diving prakriti mashrita, that the living entity, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. Bhajantyananya manaso, they worship me with their mind, knowing me to be the source of all things. And therefore, how does that manifest? How does one enter into that internal potency? Satatam kirtayanto mam, always chanting. Namashyantastamam bhakta, bowing down before me. Yatantashtrujyavrataha, endeavoring with great determination. Nitya yukta upashite, such a person's always connected with me. So if I'm trying to exploit the external energy for any other purpose besides the purpose of its owner, then I'm not going to be in the internal potency. I'm going to be in the external potency. And I'm going to be subjected to all the laws therein of, meaning karma, birth, death, old age, disease, reincarnation, all that good stuff.
External energy is like a sheep.
Yeah, it's prakriti.
She just likes to trick people all the time.
That's why her name is Maya, or Durga, or
So he really did screw up.
if she wanted to exploit the energy of God, right? It's kind of the analogy there. We can't take God's things for our own enjoyment. That makes it external. And we have to see things at our stage. We have to see things from a certain vision, or else we're not going to make progress. And if we think we're on this high level, then we're really in trouble. But we have to see that there is material external energy and there's spiritual internal energy, and you make differentiation. There are some things that are just really material, like going out and drinking alcohol or something like that. Like that's only for the gratification of the senses. What service does that do to the Lord? Or sex. Sex is a great example also, because sex energy is innately, in a sense, spiritual. And if used in God's service, it's a divine thing. But then if it's used for my own material enjoyment, then it's external and it causes entanglement. What do you have to say?
I was just thinking, like, what if you're like using alcohol as a way to, like, better express your love to Krishna? If you're like someone who's like not able to express themselves well unless they're like intoxicated. So I'm wondering if like someone did that, took a shot, it's like, Krishna, I love you so much because X, Y, Z. You know what I mean?
Except it's not real love.
Yeah, I know.
The only time my dad ever told me love me is when he was drunk. So
That kind of brings up a good question. What about like
Me too. My dad was always drunk. I'm not sure. He was not actually. He was on other things.
What about those people that do things, not necessarily like alcohol, for instance? Obviously, it's not like pure spirituality, but you got like different groups in different places of the world where they take intoxicants for a spiritual purpose and not outside of that.
Prabhupada says that's considered a spirituality and mode of ignorance. It has its modes. It's in the modes. There's worship in the different modes. They do. I mean, there's purification there. I mean, we've had a lot of us have had our experiences with the, psychoactive world and had, realizations that helped us come, to spirituality. I know, so many devotees who've had that experience. Oh, I became a devotee on an LSD trip. As a lot of devotees have said that. Jadharani came to see Prabhupada while she was high on LSD, super high on LSD. She heard the chanting. She was so high, Prabhupada said, do you live close? And she lived in the Bronx, and then there in, or she lived in Brooklyn and there in, Manhattan. And she said, yeah, I live close. And then he said, well, come tomorrow. And then I don't live close, But, so, a lot of devotees have these, but they're not real experiences. They're illusion, or they're little glimpses into something. They can give you an indication that there's something more, but they're not real spiritual experiences because they're based in something material. So, it's the same kind of concept. If someone's taking like ayahuasca or mushrooms or LSD and they're thinking, I'm having a spiritual experience, what is the fruit of that experience? I don't know I've known so many people who've come to me and talked about, LSD, and they're like, they're spiritual because of mushrooms and LSD. None of them have ever impressed me as to being like a really loving person, a really sweet spiritual person.
I think it helps to remind you that the world you're living in is not all that what you're up to is not that.
I agree that it can do that. That's about as far as I'll say that it can definitely make you think there's something more than what you perceive. That's, because that's the ultimate kind of realization that those give, is that there's more to perceive than what I experience on a mundane level, on a regular level. It does expand your awareness. There's no doubt about that, to a degree, but it doesn't change a person. In fact, science actually indicates this, that people who do mushrooms and LSD, they have these kind of profound experiences, and then the first day afterward, you're like, wow, then basically you go back to being yourself. The only significant scientific change that they realized after someone has those experiences is generally that a person considers a contemplative or meditative or spiritual life after that. That's the only consistent scientific thing they discovered, is that after those types of experiences, people do consider going towards spirituality. They don't always do it, but they consider it. But other than that, there's no fundamental change in the way they behave. And there's some exceptions, like those things, like there are medical reasons to use everything. Alcohol can be used medically, right? We use it to clean wounds, we use it to sterilize things. That could be used in Krishna's service in a sense. Medicines, ganja can have a medical purpose, right? That it is a medicine, actually. Like marijuana is a very, very powerful medicine if used properly. There's no one can deny that in certain circumstances, very special circumstances. And also, someone can say that, those types of things, they have some medicinal purpose perhaps, but that's not actual spirituality. That's to do with the body. You don't take a medicine for the soul, you take a medicine for the body and the mind. The soul doesn't need medicine.
Yeah, if you crack your ego a little bit, especially your PTSD or something.
Yeah, there's scientific evidence to support that psychedelic drugs help with PTSD. But that doesn't have anything to do with spirit. That has everything to do with psyche, which people confuse that as spirit many of the time. That's not spiritual. And you can ask many devotees, including myself, who've been through the process of, going through all these kind of hippie things. Like, we know that, that doesn't compare to a genuine spiritual experience. But yeah, so the external things, including the alcohol question, is like, no, we want our love for Krishna has to be expressed in a pure way, because there's this point. What is pure devotional service? It means it is anukulyena Krishna now Shrilam Bhaktiruttama. It's done in a favorable way to Krishna. It's like, well, I offered Krishna this, steak with so much love. It's like if I came and did something, if I offered you a dead rabbit, you die, here's this dead rabbit, I love you so much.
You gave it with love, I would accept it. Like, oh, here you go.
And sometimes yeah, no, we don't want, or, I can get a cruder analogy, if you think about it, cows are very dear to Krishna, right? And so hey, Nitai, I cut your son's throat, and, here's I offering it to you with love and devotion. And this is what we're talking about. It's kind of a crude analogy, but it's kind of basically what it means, right? Is like, or, I really harmed someone you love, and now I'm offering that to you. I put them through immense suffering and pain, and now I'm offering that to you. That's why Lord Buddha came to stop that nonsense. And that's why, our whole 4th chapter we're in right now is not recommended. And animal sacrifices in the Vedic days were done differently. They're not, you weren't burning a heifer. You were actually bringing the animal that was sacrificed would come out of the fire rejuvenated by the power of the Vedic mantras. But we're not powerful enough to chant those mantras now. Therefore, it's described in the Shastras that in the Kali Yuga, animal sacrifice is not allowed. And even then, animal sacrifice is not recommended for pure devotional service. Narada Muni makes that very clear in the 4th canto. Currently, the verses we're doing is there's not recommended as pure devotional service. In fact, we're hearing about Prachini Bharat and Narada Muni and the story of Paranjana. It misses Narada Muni. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that we hear about how, Prachini Bari became a woman, or Paranjana became a woman in his next life. But Vishwanath leaves, or Vishwanath explains that Narada left out the point that he enjoyed in the heavenly planets. Because of this kind of like, he went up, but he also has to go down. You also suffer. And he didn't talk about the enjoyment, but he talked about how after when he was dying, when Paranjana was dying, all the horns of those animals were piercing him and biting him, tearing him apart. For that, he was sacrificing animals. So it's just,
There are 8 parts to external energy or something like that.
Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego.
What are the internal parts?
Sat, Chit, Ananda, or Sandini, Ladini, and Samvit.
And the function of internal energy in Bhakti Yoga. So what's the function of?
To bewilder us. The thing is our consciousness, Maya, makes us misperceive external energy. We make it external, really. When it's used in Krishna's service, it regains its spiritual quality. That's why when prasadam is offered to Krishna, it gains a spiritual quality. You see? So, in the spiritual world, there's no kind of, everything is Sat Chit Ananda. It's full of knowledge, bliss, and eternity. It has no of the elusive material effects.
You get rid of knowledge.
Get rid of knowledge. Yeah, jnana, the sense that I want to merge into the Lord. Yeah. There's knowledge. Knowledge is also something that can be external or internal, really, because you can have knowledge, but is that knowledge facilitating my desire to merge, which is selfish, or my desire to serve Krishna? But a devotee has all knowledge already because of sheer devotional service makes one have knowledge. Janayat yashu vairagyam gyanam chiyada haitukam.
There's some kind of midway point, it seems like, between like taking everything in the material world and dovetailing it into devotional service. And like some families, is there a way some families can? I mean, I just think of good Krishna conscious families. They might take their kids to a national park, and they might use that as a way to teach about how amazing Krishna is, but they're still enjoying material energy. Is that wrong? I mean, we went to a lake and we enjoyed material energy that day. So there seems to be some. There seems to have to be some like middle ground where everything isn't devotional service in this material world. You can enjoy in a mood at least of goodness or.
We don't want to be fanatics, like sometimes people think, like a lot of times, especially newer devotees, what I find, and myself included, but later on having more experiences, sometimes we think that, we start really analyzing the philosophy and applying it in all places, which is good. But in the other sense, like we're hearing, we're chanting, we're doing service. And so there's so many things, so many little details we do differently, in terms of the way we live our material lives. Kind of superfluous. It doesn't matter so much, And so, you could enjoy a sunset. But Prabhupada at the same time said, if you're attached to that sunset in any way, shape, or form, you'll come back to take birth. So the devotees, we're not going out in nature to basically just enjoy nature, although that's there. Like we cook prasadam, we offer it to Krishna. It's nice prasadam. We enjoy it, but there's another sense that we're going to associate with devotees. There's a sense of association, this recreation. It's part of yoga. Krishna explains that that's part of the balancing things in yoga. That
like exercising.
It's good to be in nature. It's also going out into the mode of goodness, getting away, helping the mind. There's purpose behind it. But, there's a difference. I mean, even we can experience that in the terms of that trip. What are everybody who's going out there doing, right? They go out there and they do the same thing in nature that we do here. Like we go out and we chant Hare Krishna and we do a little reading and we associate and have prasadam. They go out and they intoxicate and they have illicit sex and, listen to mundane music. That's what they do. So the main core of our activities is still based on devotional service. And so Lord Chaitanya, they went out and they swam and they had fun and there was room for that. But that's why it's kind of like, we have to analyze like, what is our attachment to hearing and chanting? That's the main thing.
Enjoy but don't get attached to.
Yeah.
Things in the world that emote.
Yeah, we can enjoy as it comes. Also, actually, enjoyment's unavoidable. It's one of the things I think devotees don't understand. Also, sometimes is that enjoyment, pain is unavoidable, right? You stub your toe. Like I have a toe problem right now. Jumuna just got over a toe problem. I saved her toe problem, and then she gave me a toe problem. But I have a toe problem right now, and it's like I didn't ask for it; it came on its own. And in the same way, like sometimes I find myself in front of, San Diego Kanai breakfast burrito. It's like, wow, this is, I'm enjoying this. Thank you, Krishna. But sometimes I find myself, in front of the Sureshwar, tahini and rice cake, dinner that he eats sometimes. It's like, okay, well. Hare Krishna, but we don't complain, it comes, it's prasadam, it comes, so you find that enjoyment comes in due course of our lives. Like, some devotees have the karma, they have a beautiful spouse, there's enjoyment inherent in that, and there's suffering inherent in that also. Therefore, Krishna says, Matra sparshasta konteya setoshna sukha dukkada agamai payanit tanstatiksha bharata, that the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They're due to sense perception only. So, yeah, we have this sense perception happiness that comes and it goes. And so in course, we'll do that. And so what does it mean? That's why we say, Trinata pisani chena tareva zeshnuna amanena madanena kirtaniya sadahari, that let me be more tolerant than a tree. So it means I'm not bewildered when the enjoyment comes and it goes. Because it will come and it will go. In the due course of your own duty. Some people have the karma of being very beautiful and they can enjoy that beauty. Some people have the karma of not being very beautiful and they have to suffer that reality of, being ugly, being fat, whatever it is, you have to suffer that reality, There's a joke, there's one little joke, me and Balaram try to do that. There's one in the 9th canto, there's a purport, Prabhupada says, for someone who's very ugly, he becomes beautiful by becoming a great scholar. I say, this is why I'm reading all the time, Prabhu. Trying to be, no, I'm actually a spirit soul. We're not ugly. But no, I was talking to one devotee, I said something and he thought I was calling him fat. He goes, I know, Prabhu, I understand. I'm not a fat person. I'm a spirit soul having a fat experience. Really funny. So I'm a spirit soul having a fat experience. But I know I'm not a fat person. I'm a soul having a fat experience. But anyhow, so in due course, you'll experience joy and happiness. We may, we live in this very nice place. This is a very enjoyable place compared to out there. It's, in the evening time, like sometimes in the nighttime when I'm doing my laundry or when I'm going to fill my water, it's so peaceful at Govinda's at night, And it's nice, but sometimes you find yourself, not in a peaceful situation. You have the freaking household challenges, children screaming, big battle going on, and it's not Not peaceful. So, matra sparsha stakonte asitoshna sukha dukkha. It's tolerated. You find yourself in different circumstances. So we may, enjoy accordingly, but we don't want to become, what's our main business is to serve Krishna. That was a good question. So just to clarify, we'll end here. The clarification is that external energy is that which is used for service of the senses. And internal energy is that which is used for service of Krishna in basic. Anything? And there's a whole other class you can give on like the details of those energies and so forth.
External energy is feminine.
All of energy is feminine. Energy means feminine. Prakriti or energetic means feminine. So that's why Shakti is feminine. Energy is feminine. And
Radha's like this. Yeah, she's like this.
Radha is the Ladini Shakti. So everything's Prakriti and then Krishna's Purusha. So yeah, we're all feminine by nature actually. That's why you can't try to enjoy. You got to be the enjoyed. Sometimes being the enjoyed means you get to enjoy. Like the wife, ideally, like the husband's the enjoyer, the wife is the enjoyed, but the wife is enjoying just as much as the husband is. If a genuine relationship is there.
Like the powerful and the power.
There's the power, and then there's the holder of the power. Like the sun and the sunlight. One's not better than the other, but one is the possessor of the energy. So we're the energy, not the energetic. The energetic is he who the energy is coming from, the power station and the power. You see? You can try. All right, Lassi. Haribol. All right, Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
The AC was before